How's it going, everybody? While I was recording the video last night, there was a promo code that ended up going live. However, I wasn't sure if the code was still going to be active, but people are still sharing the code. It looks like it is still being active, so I want to make sure you guys can take advantage of this. So when you end up going up to the hamburger icon, go down to player gift, that's going to get you over to this page. And you're just going to enter this random set of numbers and letters. I'll put it in the comments below and make sure to pin it. Now, when you end up going in, you hit the redeem button. It's going to get you 1 million gold, 150 power cores, and 200 L4 training modules. So make sure that you guys hurry up and claim this, because I don't know how long this is going to end up lasting for. It might just be the rest of the day. I'm not sure, but make sure you guys do try to take advantage of this. Now, with that being said, I hope you guys do enjoy this video on everything to know about the Hellfire Club. How's it going, everybody? This is Seer here, and today we have the everything to know about the Hellfire Club. Now, I know that Rachel Summers just came out recently. We don't even have Sebastian Shaw yet. However, I thought it'd be a good idea to try to get ahead of these. Want to try to get caught up because we have a new team coming out with the Insidious 6, and I really want to get going on that one because that looks like it could be an amazing team based on the little bit of information that we know already. So with that being said, let's go ahead and take a deep dive into the Hellfire Club. Now, with this team, this is going to be the new mutant raid team. However, they're very unique because two of the members in Azazel and in Rachel Summers is able to flex into other teams with the Accursed and the Immortal X-Men respectively. Now, as far as Madelyne Pryor goes, let's go ahead and start by discussing her. Now, on the surface, she looks like she got a really good rework with the kit opening up, so it's not locked behind wars, not locked behind raids for a lot of it. She still has some interesting war defense callouts on here, but that's more for some targeting issues and some other things. I don't know if we're going to be taking advantage of this, but the glaring weakness of her is that her speed stat was not changed whatsoever. She's still slow at that 104 speed. I think that's going to keep her held back from being able to open up to where you can use her in other game modes or with other characters on this team or outside of this team. So I don't really recommend going all out on her, even though she only costs, I think, like 2 geared tier 20 pieces. So it does kind of leave it open to where you could use her in that Xavier saga, but I don't think it's really worth it. I'd rather save my resources and invest them elsewhere. Because of the new raid, I would just try and get it to where you have her up to a respectable level, and then you should be good to go. Now, as far as the T4s goes, I do think her special and ultimate does have a lot of value. If you end up taking a look, the special is going to add some extra damage. It's her opening move and it attacks everybody with that 50% extra damage. The major function of it, though, is how it's going to be applying offense down for 2 turns to brawlers, disrupt for 2 turns to all protector and controller, and ability block to all protectors and 2 turns to all support enemies. So that's really good, especially in the raid portion. I think that's going to go a long ways, especially with the way this team can get ability energy and you can really start hammering those moves out. As far as the ultimate, it does an extra 100% damage to the primary target, and it goes from the flip 3 positive effects to flipping all positive effects. So that does have a lot of value. So I do think going the T4 route for those two would be a very high value in my opinion. I don't really think those would be essential, but very, very high value in my opinion. The passive, I did put that at 3 stars. Now, I do want to talk about this one because I don't know how this is going to be playing out, because we don't know where she's going to be sliding in, say, on Alliance War Cosmic Crucible. She gains an extra 25% chance to assist on non-attack abilities. These non-attack abilities are basically Emma Frost. So anytime she does the special or the ultimate, that's going to end up taking her up to a 50% chance to assist on those abilities, which isn't great. Then she's going to be doing an extra 10% damage for controlled allies. So that does kind of sound okay on paper. I gave it 3 stars. I think it could end up being realistically maybe 2 stars or 1 star. I just don't know where she's going to be landing up. Is she going to be on the defensive side with, say, Emma and Sebastian Shaw? Or are they going to be an offensive tool That's the major question. So I just kind of set it as a 3-star. Maybe it's going to be like a luxury, or maybe just kind of a mediocre type of T4. Now, as far as the basic ability, this one here, I do have her slotted for ISO as a striker or a raider. Because of her speed, there's going to be a lot of vulnerables out on the other side of the field. Being able to get that striker shot into there, I see value in it. The basic T4 is going to make it to where it does an extra 60% damage, making that go all the way up to 300% damage. But it also increases the flip of 2 random positive effects to negative effects all the way up to 3. So if you have her as a striker, I would put that at like a 3-star type of a T4 ability. If you're not going to make her that striker and you go more for like a raider route, that would end up being more of a pass type of T4. So hopefully that's going to help you guys out with the Madelyne Pryor portion of this. Let's go ahead and jump over to Emma Frost. Emma Frost is amazing. She used to be a game-changing character when she first came into the game, and she's already making waves because of that passive and the new stats. So that just really lifted her life up. I do see where she's going to end up being like a power couple with Sebastian Shaw, because they play off each other so well, to where Sebastian Shaw can have that pre-taunt, you put her in there, and he's a fairly fast character, and that's going to end up getting that negative speed stats, which is the big portion of her kit, to all enemies, basically making his like 120 something speed feel more like a 130 something speed. So it's really cool how she's going to be working with that, and he has ways to fill her turn meter, which is amazing. Now, as far as the T4s goes, it's basically her special and her ultimate. Those two abilities are so impactful to where they just kind of really lift up her kit, and she's the definition of what a kit-based character is going to be in this game. So on her passive, let's go ahead and take a look at that first. The negative 10% speed, on turn heal for 15% max health, those are the big portions of it. And while charged, she's going to be gaining an extra 400% armor and 500% extra resistance. Her armor without the charge, she's like 91st ranked for armor, so fairly squishy. But once you get charge on her, she basically goes to like #1 armor stat in the game. Resistance is 11th, and with the charge, an extra 500%, it basically makes her first by a mile as far as that goes. Now, you don't really need to get the T4 on her. Basically, on ward defense on spawn, always apply defense up for 2 turns to all mutant villain allies. Again, I don't think she's going to be on the defensive side. I think she's going to be more of an offensive tool to help counter a lot of things on the offensive side, which is why Madelyne's so questionable for where her T4 on her passive is going to end up landing. It's just really weird as far as how that's going to end up going. Now, as far as the ultimate, it basically makes it to where you mind control 2 enemies. It does an extra 15% damage, and it goes from clearing 3 positive effects to clearing all positive effects. So that's why that's such a kind of a almost mandatory T4 on her. Just going from 3 to all is insane, and getting the extra mind control. For the special, I consider this almost a mandatory as well. It basically clears all negative effects as opposed to 3 negative effects. And it's going to be applying immunity to self and all mutant villain allies, which is 4 out of the 5 of the Hellfire Club members, because Rachel Summers is a villain. She's a hero on there. You don't really need the basic. The basic's just going to be extra damage. It doesn't really do anything different on top of that. But as far as ISOs go, I was kind of torn on how I want to play this one out. I'm thinking more healer on her, because if you remember when she first came into the game, making a healer Emma Frost was able to almost solo every single team on the ward defensive side of teams, on the ward defense. Now, as far as the team as a whole, there really is no healer on the team. So trying to get that extra sustain out there to where you make her a healer, I think that's going to go a long ways to try to keep regenerations up on the team, especially with how she gets those turn meter fills due to Sebastian Shaw. So I do see a lot of value in the healer. I think Fortifier could be a good alternative as well, getting her a higher cap on the barrier, making it to where she can actually get barrier. I think that could go a long ways as well, especially with the drain portion. I don't really see how Striker would be anything. I could see Skirmisher maybe trying to land some vulnerables out there, having it to where she can get the ISO attack into it, flipping, trying to get off of taunts. But I do think healer and fortifier are her big two. I think healer is going to be the main one I'm personally going to be going with for Emma Frost. Now we have Azazel. Now Azazel, he's already making waves in Cosmic Crucible, being with the Accursed team. And I found when I did the testing with him, Azazel was very, very impactful on the team. The issue being with Azazel is he's a really high RNG based character. When you end up using that ultimate ability, which he's able to do turn 1, if you end up having the 3 or more Accursed allies with him, he's going to be doing 10 hits, and those hits are going to be doing turn meter rewind. So that's where the RNG portion comes in. In the current raids as well, how there's a Black Knight out there, if you don't get the rebound correctly and you don't kill that Black Knight, that could cause some issues. I'm curious how the new raids are going to be playing out with him as well, because that is such a RNG heavy hit. The big value that he has, in my opinion, with the Accursed team is he's going to be providing drain. He's going to be going first and getting the turn meter rewinds out on the other side of the field to try to help make up for some of the issues that the team has with the lack of speed, because he does have a base speed of 122. He gets an extra 5%, which puts him at about 128. So you can still get ahead of this team with Azazel out there, but it's going to be a little bit more difficult, especially when the hood kind of locks down the speed reduction that Emma Frost does end up providing. Now, as far as the T4s goes for the Azazel, I do think the passive, the ultimate, and the special are almost essential for him because of how good that really improves his kit. Let's go ahead and start with the passive portion. For the passive T4 in raids on enemy death, it's going to be filling the speed bar for self and all Hellfire Club allies by 10%. Very important for the raids. Get the kills, get the team ramped up so you can really start swimming through those raids. On spawn, if this character has 3 or more Hellfire Club or Accursed allies, generate 1 ability energy for this character. That's how you get it to where you can actually ult turn 1. So I do consider that almost an essential T4 for Azazel. For the ultimate, his opening move, without the T4 on the ultimate, you're not getting the turn meter rewind. So by getting that ultimate T4, it changes what the ability does. So without it, there's no turn meter rewind with it. With it, you get in the on attack the primary target, clear positive effect, reduce speed bar by 15%, and the reduction also goes for the rebound hits, and it does a 50% turn meter rewind on the final hit. So it's just way too important. You got to get that T4 into the ultimate if you're going to be using him in Cosmic Crucible. And I believe also in raids, because you need to get those turn meter rewinds out there to really get the Hellfire Club moving. As far as the special goes, this one also kind of changes what the ability does. So with the T4, it's going to be adding the extra damage, but it also applies bleed to all enemies, and it applies blind to the enemy with the highest damage, which it doesn't have that without it. So that's why I do think that's going to be a 5-star, almost essential. Getting the blind out there for the highest damage, I think is the biggest thing. The bleed is important, but if you can get the blind out there, then have it to where Rachel Summers can get this. There's a stun into, say, that blind target, then you spread the blind, the stun, all those negative effects. It goes a long ways into helping this team out. For the basic, this is like a 1-star. I don't see where you're really going to be using the basic ability for Azazel a lot. He gets a lot of ability energies in the raids. In the Accursed team, you're going to be basically killing whatever you want to by turn 2, which is when the special goes off. So you can kind of pass on the basic. It just does extra damage to the primary and the extra bonus hit as well. Now, as far as T4s goes, I do really like him as a raider because he has a lot of big AoE hits. Trying to get the vulnerables out there to really lean into the striker shots from the following characters of Madelyne, and I think Rachel as well would be the other striker on this team. Now, if we end up going over to Rachel Summers. Rachel, I really do like her. I think she's going to have a lot of value as a plug-and-play character. She does really good on the Hellfire Club. She does really good into the Immortal X-Men. But once those teams kind of fizzle out, she's the only character in the game that's able to spread stun, which is amazing. That's going to go a long ways as a plug-and-play character. especially with somebody at 124 speed. Say you pair her with Nightcrawler where you really speed her up, get the speed up on her, fill the turn meter. It's going to be insane for what she can do for the longevity of this game. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the T4s for her. The passive, I do consider this one an essential T4. This is where when an enemy gains slow and there's 3 more Hellfire Club or Immortal X-Men allies, she's going to be reducing the speed bar by 15%. So if you pair her with Storm, she does an opening special, you're doing a turn meter rewind right off the bat, which is really going to get the Immortal X-Men moving. And that's honestly where I find most of her values, either with the Immortal X-Men or maybe with a Storm and Jean type of combination out there. Now with the ultimate, this is going to be a turn 1 ability or the special. You're going to be able to choose which one you want to end up doing, which is really cool. You can either spread stun from the primary to all secondary. So if you have 2 adjacent, or in raids, maybe there's 5 adjacent allies, you can spread stun to all of them by getting that T4 into the ultimate ability. That's how I basically consider that like an essential T4. Spreading stun on that is insane. Now the special is really interesting. This is going to be a 3-turn cooldown, and this is also an essential T4 to where you're going to be spreading stun and 3 other negative effects from the primary to the most injured. So if you have somebody on the other side of the field that's the lowest health and you want to get stun over to that target, you'd end up using the special as opposed to the ultimate. Now the ultimate ability is piercing damage, which means that's going to be a very high value hit, and her damage stats 10th in the game without any passes being kind of factored into it at the time of recording this. So she does a very high amount of damage with that ultimate ability, but sometimes you need to try to figure out, okay, is it better to go for the ultimate, that high damage spread to adjacent, and I take that extra hit, or you want to control that other character on the other side of the field? So that's why I do like both of these abilities. All 3 of those are going to be essential T4s for Rachel. Now the basic, I put this one as 2 stars. The main reason is it's only going to be an extra 60% damage. I like her as a striker because the other characters that goes before her, say with the Immortal X-Men, would be Storm and Jean. So if you're able to get another striker shot into there, the extra boost of damage and being able to apply that defense down on them does look really good to where you can actually do that. If you want to go for the flat damage, try to get the crits out there with, say, the ultimate or the special, you could end up going with the Raider aspect of it, but I think Striker is going to be the better play in my opinion. Now, if we end up taking a look at Sebastian Shaw, this character, I think he's going to be one of the more long-lasting members of the team because on spawn, he spawns in with Taunt, with new stats, and he gets 30% of his max health as barrier. So right off the bat, it's like, okay, this is a pre-taunt that comes in with barrier. So he's able to kind of take some of that opening barrage, kind of weather the storm. And also if you have Emma Frost with, as he's getting hit, you're getting turn meter chance over to Emma Frost, because when an enemy attacks this character, gain charge, apply charge to random Emma Frost ally, and fill her speed bar by 5%. So really, really cool ability. And I love how they have it to where he pairs so nicely with Emma Frost. I just can't rave about it enough to where they made it to where this is a actual power couple where you can actually keep them together and they work very, very well together. Now, as far as the T4s go, the passive is essential. While charged, he's going to be gaining an extra 20% damage, 200% resistance, 500% focus, and 15% damage reduction, up to a maximum of 80% damage reduction. Now, I don't know where the 80% damage reduction is coming from, because kind of taking a look at the kit, I don't see how the charges actually stack. Just as while he has charged, it's going to get these effects, and doesn't say it's going to be kind of stacking those effects. Maybe they do stack up, and I'm just kind of missing it. However, very powerful T4 to be able to get all of those abilities kind of bonused into him while he's charged. For the ultimate ability, this one here is going to be a turn 1 or turn 2 ability, because I believe Azazel can get him the extra ability energy. And by the way, speed of 126 for this character is insane. when you factor in a negative 10% speed to your enemies. They got to be over about 138 speed, because 10% down is going to put it even like 125. So yeah, they got to be like over 138 speed to be able to go before Sebastian Shaw. So really cool as far as that goes. Now back to the ultimate. The T4 is going to be getting additional damage, and if charged, increase the damage by 100%. So it makes it to where it goes to 375% piercing damage and attack primary and adjacent for 375% piercing. And then it's going to increase by an extra 150% piercing damage, putting it at 525% piercing when he's charged. That's a massive amount of damage. And even though he's like 36th right now as far as the ranking, it's piercing damage, which means it kind of cuts through the armor class of the enemies. Now for the special, I had this one as a 4-star as well. It just does an extra 125% damage while he's charged. So as you can see, if he has charge, he's getting the extra 20% damage plus this extra damage on top of the abilities, which is just bonkers as far as what he can kind of do. Now, as far as the basic goes, I was trying to figure out what's going to be the best star ranking for this. While charged, this attack cannot miss. That's all that's going to happen with the T4. On paper, that sounds really good. However, he already makes it to where it can't be blocked, it can't be dodged, it can't be counterattacked. So it just adds in the cannot miss portion on there. I don't know if that's actually worthy of putting a T4 on, because you are able to kind of get some nice ability energy out there. The ISO attack, it doesn't really factor in the cannot be missed either. So it's just, I'm kind of torn on it. I'd put that as a 2-star. I don't think it's going to be a high value. It looks more like it's going to be a low or mid value portion for that T4. Now, as far as ISOs go for Sebastian Shaw, I'm kind of on the same fence with him as I am with Emma Frost. I could see healer being a thing because he is able to kind of move fast. He ults, say turn 1, he can clear the vulnerables off the allies to protect them, get the extra regenerations out there, because again, this team doesn't have a lot of sustain, which is kind of holding them back. Or you can go with the fortifier, because he does spawn in with the extra 30% barrier with his max health, and that's going to end up increasing the barrier that he can get as well. I don't think you can really go wrong with any of his T4s. That's just my immediate thought, is I want to try to get more sustain onto the Hellfire Club team, because that's a big hole in them, is they don't have like somebody to heal them up. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump over to the group infographic on here. So with the group infographic on here, placement, I do like Sebastian Shaw on the one bookend. Adjacent would end up being Emma Frost, just because she already has like 111 speed, and by getting him hit, that's going to fill her speed bar up, and she's going to be having the extra barrier as well, some added protection. She'll be able to kind of take any of those chain hits. And Madelyne Pryor, with her slow speed, you don't want to really get any rewinds into Madelyne Pryor if there's going to be any form of turn meter rewind. That way she can actually get her turn and kind of open up with her opening abilities. Rachel Summers, I do like either on the bookend or put Azazel on the bookend. One of those two high value characters that's going to be your damage dealer. Just try to keep them away from Sebastian Shaw. Now let's go ahead and jump over to the strengths of the team. So the strengths, they have quite a bit of strengths. I was kind of surprised at how well they did during my testing, but let's go ahead and do the breakdown. Madelyne Pryor, she has a lot of control mechanics to where she's able to apply the offense down disrupt ability blocks, and she's able to flip positive effects into negative effects to really keep the control portion on the team. For Emma Frost, she's capable of clearing all negative effects with that special, clearing all positive effects with her ultimate. That minus 10% speed to all enemies is very important as well. With Azazel, he's able to reduce turn meter, but that is an RNG chance. I do want to stress that, because RNG could make it to where that one character you want to get rewound doesn't get any rewinds, or maybe he gets all the rewinds. It's just a very RNG type of move for him. Now he is able to provide drain to the Hellfire Club and Accursed. That is really the only portion of sustain that this team has is through Azazel. He's also able to fill speed bar for self and all Hellfire Club allies on death of enemies, but that's only locked behind raids, and that's how you're really going to get the team moving in the raids. For Rachel Summers, she has a lot of control mechanics to where you're able to flip positive effects into negative effects. She's capable of spreading negative effects, including stun. I can't stress that enough. The spreading stuns is just such a powerful ability and very unique to Rachel Summers. She's also capable of reducing speed bar, which we kind of went over that, to where if they get slow, they get a turn meter rewind, which really plays well into the Immortal X-Men. Now for Sebastian Shaw, he has a lot of support mechanics to where he's capable of applying defense up and safeguard to self and all Hellfire Club allies. On spawn, he comes in with taunt and barrier, and he's capable of filling speed bar for Emma Frost. So very powerful, a lot of unique strengths that this team has. But what are the weaknesses of this team? Let's go ahead and take a look at that. So the Hellfire Club is a unique raid team that's able to have two of the members, Azazel and Rachel Summers, kind of spread off, break into the Accursed team, break off into the Immortal X-Men team, and really lift those teams up to where they can kind of be more reliable in the counters or beat some of the newer teams. With Azazel, he improves the Accursed team in several of the top tier matches. I was able to beat certain Xavier comps during my testing portion on the test server. That is test server, not live server. I really want to see how he does on the live server when I get him built higher up. Now, as far as Rachel Summers, it's really unique with her because she could beat certain Xavier comps with that Storm and Jean. If there's the Fantastic Four with them, the three-piece doesn't really work. So you can really still use Storm and Jean in that aspect, then maybe plug her into another team to try to get some spreading negative effects, spread stun, stuff like that. So you can still use her as a plug-and-play feature, even if you don't use her with the Immortal X-Men. Now, with the Immortal X-Men, I still struggled against some of the top-tier teams as far as trying to do one-shots. They don't work on a curse. They don't work on Star Jammers. I was basically relegated to using this team into like a Phoenix Force team, which is very good to be able to take out a Phoenix Force team more reliably, but it wasn't a guaranteed victory when I tried doing those matches. So I do want to stress that it's not going to revolutionize the Immortal X-Men, but it does lift them up. Now, the Hellfire Club as a group, they are easy to navigate around if you do see them kind of on the defensive side of things. If you are able to get characters that's faster than, say, 128 speed, and stop kind of their speed mechanic of Emma Frost, which there are a lot of characters that can do that, like in War, Zombie Scarlet Witch could end up kind of being a plug and play to really help beat this team, or just come in with a fast team that can come in with, say, speed up. You should be able to kind of get around this team if you see them in Alliance War on the defensive side of things. Madelyne Pryor being at that speed of 104 is very concerning to me. When she does get her moves off, it is very impactful. It's almost a delete button with certain moves that she has. If you have her built up very big, it's just trying to get her to use those abilities and get her turn off. That's the more glaring issue with her. Now, more characters and teams are coming in that's able to stop the speed reduction that Emma Frost kind of does. If we look at Fantastic Four 3-piece, we have Zombie Scarlet Witch, we have can't think of any others off the top of my head, but more teams are coming in that's able to stop the speed stat on there. Or if you end up using, say, like Apocalypse and Nightcrawler, they're able to get around that as well. If you look at some of the older characters, that's able to kind of stop her speed portion. Now, as far as Azazel goes, his speed bar reduction, as I stressed previously, very RNG dependent. And if you have characters on there that can't reduce speed bar, a Cosmic Crucible, for instance, Captain Britain, that stops the speed reduction. Certain characters that's coming into the game can't have the turn meter reduced as well. So I don't know if that's going to be more of a long-lasting thing, but that is something to kind of consider with that. The team also has very long cooldowns. So if you look at, say, Sebastian Shaw's ultimate ability, very, very long cooldown to where you're lucky if you're going to get that move off twice ever. Azazel, 2 moves, special and ultimate, very, very long cooldowns. Madelyne Pryor has some fairly long cooldowns, and Rachel Summers' ultimate, very long cooldown. So if you're able to get burn attacks into the team, hold their abilities, it's going to make for a very easy cleanup. Now, as far as what this team was able to do, I was actually very surprised. This is the best raid team. So if you kind of look at the chart on here, Orcus, they're being replaced. I don't know how they're going to do against the Insidious 6. However, they do walk over Orcus. The Night Stalkers, I was very cautious. How would this team do against them? They have a very high speed stat. They're going to take their turns first. Can we actually rebound enough and take them out? I was able to do that, no problem. The Vigilante team, I was able to walk over them. The Thunderbolts team, I was able to walk over them. The power couple, as well, of Sebastian Shaw and Emma Frost was very impressive. I do like those two kind of being together, and then you can kind of slot whoever you want with them and use them in that aspect. Now, taking Madelyne Pryor out and slotting in some of these versatile characters, such as Null, I was able to take out a Liberty team with Mephisto. That's a war team, and that was in Alliance War. That was insane. I was able to do something like that with this team. Apocalypse, I was able to slot him in over Madelyne Pryor. I was able to take out Astral with that team. That's another war team. It's pretty insane. If there's Odin on the other side, you can end up slotting Quasar in, or if you want, you can maybe slot Ares in. This team is very versatile, and I really like the power output that this team is able to provide. Now, my final thoughts of the team is I think this team's actually very good. It's very strong. The weaknesses they have, I was able to kind of overcome some of those weaknesses. Punching into faster teams, trying to use the healer ISO to my advantage, getting the drain out there with the Azazel, so that way when I did take my turns, I hit them hard and I healed up off of it. So I was really able to kind of bounce back with this team, which is very cool. Having it to where I can end up slotting 2 of these characters out in Cosmic Crucible and still using, say, Emma Frost and Sebastian Shaw as a power couple in Crucible or other game modes. I could see this team working very well as a 3-person tower when Kiln comes around, or as a 5-person when the Sword Tower comes out. I'm really happy with this team, and I'm hoping we get more teams like this, because some of the other teams we had, there were such glaring drawbacks to them. It was very hard to overcome some of those weaknesses, but I didn't really have those same weaknesses to where it cost me the matches with the Hellfire Club. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. You got a lot of knowledge off of it, and hopefully you guys are going to be enjoying the Hellfire Club as much as I am. If you guys did enjoy this video, please remember to like, share, subscribe to the channel. Until next time, have one for the rest of the day.